Now I'm an actor. 5 movies under my belt, 6 TV shows, constantly booking. I'm a working actor now. Sometimes in life, we're just not ready. And I get to do all these things because people are like, you can't possibly do all this. Or the traditionalists will say, the industry doesn't work that way. You can't do it like this. And I'll be like, you know what? You're right. But hey, I'm not trying to do everything. I'm trying to prepare for everything. Like, oh man, that makes sense. And I just shake my head because I'm like, doing everything is preparing for everything. Preparation is everything. I don't prepare for something that I don't plan on doing. I don't plant a seed if I don't do the preparation because I'm looking for mastery.
Welcome to the Midland Money Mindset. This is a podcast that's all about getting your mind right when it comes to all things money. In every episode, we go deep with engaging guests who provide tangible takeaways and a whole lot of joy along the way. I hope you enjoy these conversations as much as I enjoyed having them. Let's dive into today's show. I'm Larry Sprung, your host for the Midland Money Mindset and founder and wealth advisor of Midland Financial. Today's guest is DC Glenn, CEO of CLG Investments Inc., and you may know him from when he made music history as DC the Brain Supreme of Tag Team with his multi-platinum hit single and album, Whoomp There It Is. DC Glenn is a multi-talented musician, producer, DJ, marketer, and all-around businessman. He has his own digital marketing company called CLG Investments Inc. DC Glenn is half of the 90s hip-hop duo Tag Team, which made the song Whoomp There It Is. Currently, he is featured in the popular Geico commercial, Scoop There It Is. I don't know about you, but this is a fan favorite in the Sprung household. DC Glenn excels in voice acting booking and is one of the top urban voices for Apple's iTunes Radio, and in addition, he is one of the most well-known DJs in Atlanta. DC Glenn has worked from the ground up to develop a rewarding business and nowadays is strengthening his enterprise to a level seen by few. An entrepreneur at heart, he has a passion for empowering, educating, and leaving a legacy of inspiration behind for his fellow artists or anyone who hopes to succeed in the music industry or any endeavor their heart desires. Listen in for some great takeaways about how this legendary musician has turned one of the biggest records ever recorded into a life as an entrepreneur, and not to mention being in one of the most memorable commercials of all time. Well, hello everybody, Larry Sprung here, and I have the unbelievable pleasure today of being with DC Glenn, CEO of CLG Investments Inc., and you also may know him from when he made music history as DC the Brain Supreme of Tag Team. Welcome to the show today, DC.
Good to be here.
It's awesome to have you. And I want to give our listeners an understanding. I know because I'm a big fan, but I was hoping that you can share with everyone and our listeners who you are and your path to how you got to where you are today.
All right. Well, my name is DC Glenn, other known as DC the Brain Supreme of Tag Team. I am an entertainer. I've been a DJ for 30 years. When I was young, I met my boy Steve Rowland in high school, and our last names were G, so we sat next to each other, and he had a band, and they were playing the quad sometimes, and I was like, ooh, I got to be in that band. I was musically inclined because I sang in the choir. My parents made me go to piano practice and play the trumpet, and that was cool, but that's not really what I really was into. They made me do that, but that's cool. And also in high school, I worked in the truancy office, and down the hall, there was a choir that just sang beautiful music. I was like, I got to be in that choir. And I went to my first high school dance at that school, and the first time I ever saw 2 turntables and a mixer. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a DJ. And I became proficient in all 3, went to college at Sac State University, learned how to use a 4-track recorder. For those who don't know, everybody just goes into their computer and makes a song now. We used to have to earn it.
I think I had an 8-track at my house when I was growing up.
For those who don't know, cassette tape, you had a cassette tape and you put it in this contraption and you got 4 tracks. So you had to make whatever you wanted to make in those 4 tracks. And my boy, Johnny Z, he didn't know how to use it. I was like, I'll learn how to use it. And my boy had a drum machine. I made some beats. Then I just started making up stuff, beating pots and pans, screaming, yelling, playing flutes, whatever I could do to make a song.
Right.
But I made songs. I made like 10 of them. I sent them to Steve. He thought I was in a devil worship. And, but he was like, man, but that's cool that you was able to make a song. And then I was at Sacramento. He was in Denver, and then he moved to Atlanta. And I became better at all those things, DJing, writing lyrics, the whole nine. Went down to Atlanta, loved it, just to visit, and packed up everything after school, went to Atlanta. Supposed to work at CNN and got a job at a club called Magic City, which is an adult entertainment club, and also had jobs at regular clubs. And that was when Atlanta was the best kept secret. That's back when Bobby Brown got there, Babyface got there, L.A. Reid,
Right.
all the Deion Sanders' first year was there, right? And I'll never forget it because the weekend that I went to Magic City just to chill, the DJ was terrible. And I think he was drunk. I don't know. But that was the night we went to see Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee. And that Monday, I get a job as a DJ. By the end of the week, I'm the head DJ. And now everybody knows who I am because that was the number one club in the city. So fast forward 1992, we were always making music, but I knew we were never going to be able to get out of the Southeast if we didn't make up-tempo music, booty shake or bass music.
Right.
So I went to Steve and said, man, we got to make something up-tempo. He's like, I love that type of music, but I can't. That's hard for me to make. I was like, don't think that. Think Planet Rock, Egyptian Lover, the old school electronic stuff. And the first attempt of us doing this was Whoomp There It Is, because I was already writing that song. And we went to the studio in August of 92, and I went to work that night, popped the cassette in, and to this day, that is the biggest response on any record I've ever played. And I've been DJing for 30 years. So fast forward, all the labels are talking to me because I hustle, right? I network. I know how to get things done. Plus, all the record labels who had representatives knew me.
Right.
So when they would come in, they were like, what is that? And I was like, that's my new record. He's like, give me that. I'm going to New York. Next thing you know, Columbia Records, Epic Records, all of them are hollering at me, but they didn't know what to do with it because back then it was just New York and LA, right? And I almost gave up. Not really, but I just got tired of people playing with me.
Right.
And a young lady named Lisa McCall told me to call a gentleman named Al Bell. For those who don't know who Al Bell is, back in the day, at the beginning of soul music, there were 3 record companies, Philly International, Motown, Berry Gordy, and Stax Records with Al Bell. And the year before, Whoomp There It Is, he had put out a record called Daisy Dukes by Deuce. And it went gold. I was like, let me call him because I'm happy with gold. I'm happy just to get a record deal at this point.
Right.
And I called him, took him about 2 weeks to call. And I was like, he called me and I was like, look, dude, we've got a hit record. I've tested it. I'm in the biggest clubs in the country. You got to sign us. He was like, okay. I was like, don't play with me. I was like, you haven't even heard the record. I'll never forget these words. He said, brother, I don't have to hear the record. I hear it in your spirit. Let's agree to agree and get this thing moving. And I was like, okay. And gave my 2 weeks in Magic City, signed a messed up record deal. And in a month and a half, Tag Team was platinum. And the rest is history. Yeah.
Amazing. From an entrepreneurial standpoint, I hear a lot of common themes between being an entrepreneur and what you went through, in terms of being persistent, getting to that point where you almost give up and being even more persistent, right?
Oh, we've
continuing to. Yeah. So listen, I mean, how does it feel to have one of the biggest records ever recorded in music?
It's work, right? Because
we don't see that, right? As the end consumer, we don't see that. We don't know about that.
Because I worked in the clubs and I was always popular, I didn't need that attention, right? So that's not what drove me. What drove me was the learning part of it, right? And we made some bad decisions just because we didn't know. I'm blessed. So for me to give back is my responsibility. And all I'm trying to do is talk to people, anybody who's willing to listen, about the things I wish somebody had told me when I was a young man. I might not have listened, but at least I would have known because I've always listened to people, even if I didn't agree, right? That's the key. And we got into a legal battle after the record company went bankrupt. And like, where's my money? And I'm thinking I could fight a record company with the money that they gave me. And then I soon realized, hey, wait a minute, they're just going to bleed you to death, right? So what happened is they went bankrupt. And then another record company bought it out of bankruptcy, but they stole the wrong part of it. So that's when the court case ensued. And then we were the pawns in the middle. And I was just like, I'm going to let you guys deal with this, but I'm not going to sit back idly. And in my life, whenever there was a traumatic situation or something didn't go my way. I just look at the glass half full instead of the glass half empty. So I could have easily became an old bitter rapper, but then where would I be now? Right. And I said, and I always vowed that will never happen to me again. So I basically became a paralegal. I learned what the case was about. I learned how to make a motion. I learned that you have to go through several circuit courts all across the country just to find somebody to even take the case. You're going to get denied over and over again. They went through 50 motions to get that lawsuit into court. And all that time, I'm going through case law, case discovery. I'm putting together a discovery file, just immaculate with every date, every piece of paper, everything we had. And that's part of not looking at the negative side, but all I do is think solutions, right? So I love when people come to me with problems and come to me complaining all the time. And I love when people give me excuses because that's an opportunity to make a solution, to put it in your toolbox for later. And then you've acquired this skill to at least combat that thing when it hits you, because life is baked in the cake, right? And things are going to happen. So you can't get mad when things happen. You just have to be prepared for when things happen. So as time goes along, your initial question was, how does it feel? Well, like 2003, I'm sitting in the movie theater and all of a sudden Will Ferrell's on the table dancing to Whoomp There It Is in the movie Elf. And right then I knew I had an evergreen product. I knew I had a forever hit record, and it was up to me to get my money, because the first rule is nobody's going to give you anything. Nobody's going to teach you anything. You got to go get it. Right. And shortly after I'm doing all the paralegal stuff, or just, I'm just doing my due diligence and the best I can. I said, I'm not going through this money thing anymore. So I said, well, how can I learn finance? So I became a licensed commodities broker, right? Took the Series 3, failed the first time because I just took it just to see what was on it, then passed the second time. And then I actually worked at 3 firms while I was DJing the clubs, because the record company depleted all my money. So I had to go back to work, but I was still making a bunch of money because I'm DJing in the clubs. It's always easy money. So that's kind of how CLG Investments Inc. formed, because I couldn't be a broker because I was selling financial services that I had nothing to do with or knew nothing about. And I had the people, and I wanted to start a hedge fund because I knew everybody. I knew Dion, I knew Dominique, I knew all these people. And I was like, well, I don't know nothing about no hedge fund. How can I learn about a hedge fund? So what I did is I just started calling hedge fund, management companies. And I was like, hey, how you doing? My name is DC from Tag Team. Remember the song Whoomp There It Is? And that's the only time I use it. Right. To get into a boardroom. And I end up, like, yeah, I know what that song is. Yeah. I was like, well, hey, got a hedge fund I'm trying to put together, and I'd like to see if you guys would, like to do the management. And I had meetings in 4 or 5 cities. And the first one was in Las Vegas. And I'm in this boardroom, and they're fanboying me real, introductions are always like that. And I'm like, why should I let you guys run my hedge fund? And they just laid it out. But what they didn't realize is while they were pitching me, they were teaching me.
Right.
And that's what I do with everything. Right. And I realized that a hedge fund wasn't for me because I'm emotional about money. Right. So I needed another approach. But like there's collateral damage, I call it collateral sprinkles, because year 2000, I would look at CNBC to know what they were talking about.
Right.
Year 2002, I knew everything they were talking about. Right.
But what is CLG Investments today?
That's the next phase, because once I realized I had already had CLG Investments Inc, because that's what that was about, but I didn't want to change it. So I said, we'll do it like this. Let's start, because that's when I was in the whole self-help thing, Anthony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Robert T. Kiyosaki, the whole 9. And I said, one of those tapes was like, run your life like a corporation. And that's what I did. So I'm the entity, run it like a corporation. So, well, how do you do that? Well, you got to figure out what type of corporation you are. So I sought help for that. I had an incredible tax guy, so he helped out with that. And then he was like, well, you need a bookkeeper, you need this, you need that. The bookkeepers weren't doing good, so I paid somebody to teach me how to use QuickBooks,
right?
Which was the key, because I know where every penny goes now. And I think, and then maybe 2 years later, I'm doing good, I'm learning and I'm doing my thing, but I'm still DJing, I'm taking my money. I said, I got to start investing. And I'll never forget it. I was going to get some soap at this place. The guy's real good soap. And across the way, there's an Edward Jones. And this beautiful lady named Amanda, I walked in, I was like, I need some investment help. And she's like, well, sit down. And we came up with a plan to where I could just fill a bunch of little buckets. I got the corporation. So start taking some of that money that you make, because I was making all cash because I'm at the clubs.
Right.
Let's take that money, dump it into our little buckets. So you got your SEP IRAs, you got your Roths, you got your, certain hedge funds you want to be a part of that are slow growth. All those things that I know I'm always going to make money. And it worked. And that just elevated my IQ as far as investing. And like I said, every time something gets in my way or something traumatic happens to me, I vow it will never happen again. And I will learn everything I have to learn to make sure it doesn't happen to me again. So now we're floating along. I'm doing all my stuff. We're doing about maybe 7 shows a year because we're just doing the NBA stuff and, halftime shows and whatnot. And just going through this legal battle. And it was painful because, if you don't have the rights to your music and everybody else is making money off of it, but you, the incentive is not there to go hard for it. But I put that in the back of my head and just went hard for it. And that's how I've always made money, because we made that record. So that's our record.
Yeah,
I'm going to go get the money for it.
Yeah. So I got to ask you, because I come from a family of hockey guys. I played hockey. Both my boys play hockey. Yep. And when I told my kids that we were going to have this conversation today, they said, hey, his song was used in the Mighty Ducks.
Yep, Mighty Ducks.
And I was like, oh, and we went back and we found the clip. So I got to ask you, was that used with your permission and you got compensated for that? Or is that tied up in that whole
That was tied up in the whole thing.
Wow. Amazing.
Everything we've ever done has been tied up in that. But if you look at it that way, it's heartbreaking. But if you look at it the other way, it's like this opportunity to network, this opportunity to meet people, this opportunity to go get your money, this opportunity to go to these booking agents and say, look, I'm in the Mighty Ducks. You need to get us some shows, right? Or we need to get more of this and more of that to where we can work as the entity tag team as opposed to being connected to the song Whoomp There It Is. And it was brutal because, we had Huggies commercials, Reese's Pieces. We actually had a Geico commercial 6 years ago.
Right.
The barbecue commercial. Not the new one. The new one we're in. But the other one was Barbecue Winner, right? It was in that. It's in Walmart. Like all these big brands, right? And fast forward to like 2011. I get a call at the club from this lady. They're like, DC, there's this lady who want to talk to you. Like, you can't take a number? She's like, she wouldn't get off the phone, DC. I was like, man, which one of these women? But then it was like, let me go. I was like, look, man, please just call me tomorrow morning. Because it was on a Saturday. Call me on Sunday. And there was a reporter from the New York Times. And she was like, have you seen the Gawker article? And I was like, no. She was like, the world is trending that everybody thinks Barack Obama was in your music video. Because they took a snap of a guy that looked just like a young Barack Obama. And once she got it, she told everybody else. We did press for like 2 weeks. ABC, NBC, Stephen Colbert's show. The list is just phenomenal. And I was upset at the end because I had nothing to show for it. And that's when my SEO career started. Search engine optimization, the ability to get on the first page of Google when you need to, right? And took me 10 years. But I was like, when I'm different because I think I learned this like during that self-help time. There was this book where this guy, he wanted to have a pie shop. So he's like, well, let me go work at a pie store. So he's the dishwasher. He worked his way up, learned how the whole pie system worked, and then quit. Then he started his own pie shop. Then he franchised it. Then he sold it for $20 million, right? Mm-hmm. And he called that process being in the corridor. So I said, well, let me do that. So while I'm at these clubs, let me be their marketing manager. So I'm not just a DJ. I'm your sound guy. I'm your light guy. I do your graphics arts. I do your radio spots. I do your television spots. I do your fashion photography for the girls. I do everything. I do the job of 10 people, right? And I had such good bosses that they would fund my education to go learn how to do these things. So I made myself invaluable. And that's what I try to tell people now. I have friends that work in these dead-end jobs. It's like, it's not a dead-end job. Learn how to do your supervisor's job. Learn how to do everybody's job in that place. I ain't about to do all that work. You looked at it the wrong way. If you do that, it's not that you're doing extra work. You're getting your education. So if the boss comes in and says, hey, she ain't here, can somebody do this? Be like, I got it.
Right.
You're always going to be the one to be like, I got it.
You're always going to be relevant that way.
You're always going to be relevant.
Obviously, this was a huge battle for you, but you've
Mhm.
always looked at it from the right side of the coin, right? And from the glass half full perspective.
Yeah.
How did you end up making your way back and fighting your way back to success with the Scoop There It Is? I mean, that was named Ad of the Year by Adweek. How did you get there? How did that ad come to be?
So that starts in 2011, SEO. Because back then, you type in tag team, it was all wrestling. You type in tag team today, it's all tag team.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? And during the pandemic, August 2020, I get a call from my agent because I'm an actor at the People Store, acting and voiceover. They're my agent in Atlanta. And Lena's like, DC, you just booked a Geico commercial. And I was like, why are you playing with me in this pandemic? I haven't even auditioned. And she was like, no, they want Whoomp There It Is. And I was like, oh. So I went and checked my phone because I have a tag team phone. And there was the message. And because I present everywhere, they went to my IMDb, found my agents. So the synergy is just bananas. And I let my agents make the deal. And it is the biggest, most lucrative deal I've ever made in my life. Right. And that was the easy part. The hard part was, okay, now you got to prepare. And because I'm an actor, I prepared. And I said, I want to go in with 5 or 6 things to make this commercial, to put my imprint on it. And the night before, we had a fitting with the producer and the director. I said, I got a couple ideas. And he was like, man, whatever you guys want to do. And I was like, well, I was trying to get a spin and scoop done, but couldn't get it done. It's like, DC, it'll be done tomorrow. I was like, whoa, okay. I was like, I know kids love sprinkles. I don't know why, but they love sprinkles. I want to do all these little sprinkles. He said, DC, we will have a truckload of sprinkles there for you. We do this kind of, and I went through my list. And the next day it was a tag team party. We had energy. It was cast perfectly. And we had a ball all day.
Do you feel like this was redemption for what you went through in the past with the album itself and what you went through with the record company? Clearly, it was the result of a lot of hard work and perseverance along the way. But
no, because that puts you in a mind frame of something else. My whole goal is always take one opportunity and turn it into 10, right? So I just didn't do a Geico commercial. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's during the pandemic. So if I was going to get any benefit from it, we would be able to do a bunch of shows, but it was in a pandemic, so there were no shows. So I said, well, let me figure out what I can do. I said, let me get a publicist to blow up my acting and my voiceover and all the things that I do. And no publicist wanted to work with me because we're in a pandemic. And I said, and this is one of the things that is critical for me is whenever somebody tells me no, or whenever I get stuck, I join an organization, society, or association, because those entities are filled with people who have been doing their profession and love it for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And they can't wait to tell you everything. So I joined the Public Relations Society of America. Super Bowl week, that Wednesday, I'm on a podcast with the CEO of this firm. And I raised my hand. I was like, our press release is still relevant? Because I had a press release I hadn't dropped yet. And they're like, well, what's it for? I'm like, well, I'm kind of featured in a national Geico commercial called Scoop There It Is. And I'm just looking at the chat blow up. Wait a minute, what's he doing here? That's not him. Oh my God, my grandmother loves that. It just, now the whole thing is about me. Now I've got their attention. And the CEO's like, yes, that thing is going to work because the whole last year has been COVID. And the whole last year has been political. And you hear you guys come spinning scoops and throwing sprinkles and DC, you'll smile. You're going to go here for all the TV talk shows. You're going to go here for all the journalists. You're going to go for here for all the publicists. Go here for all the podcasters. Make sure your pitches is like this. She gave me the entire breadth of her experience in 10 minutes. And it's changed my life forever. And is the reason that you and I are talking right now.
So where did you get this mindset of learning? Because clearly from very early on to today and continues in the future, you clearly have this mindset that you will either find people that will help get you there, or you're going to learn it yourself if you can't find those right folks. And it seems like you've more heavily relied upon your own ability to learn and absorb and create. Where did that stem from?
I just don't quit. Right? I don't quit ever.
You don't have a family of educators behind you or something?
Yeah, definitely. And I owe everything to my mother and my father because they worked me and my brother like a dog, right? Like I've been stemming collard greens and shucking peas since I was 5 years old. My mother had a cut cook. My dad made me cut the lawn, cut the hedges, wash his car, shovel the snow because I'm from Denver.
So worst case, you had a career in landscaping. If none of this worked out, it sounds like.
I had a career in all kind of things, just practical things that I could do. All the women in my family's like, you're going to never need a woman. We're going to take care of you. We're going to teach you how to do all this. And I learned, and I've always loved to learn. So it is crazy because I think I was 9 years old. We had this big blizzard. We're the only family that had a snowblower. So we're just kids playing in snow. But we finish our walkway. I see Mr. Grant struggling. And I was like, we got you, Mr. Grant. And he just did the whole neighborhood because we were having fun. Our friends were over there. And then the next week, me and my brother coming home, and people would call us to their house. And they'd be like, hey, here's $20. Here's $10. Appreciate you doing our snow. And a hustler was born. And I was like, my parents only give me $5 a week for an allowance. And I can make this much. I had a paper route. I worked at Dolly Madison Ice Cream when I was like 13. I worked at the AV department at the university, wheeling around projectors when I was 14, 15, and then 16, 17, 18, I worked at Mile High Stadium selling Pepsi at the Denver Broncos game, coming home with $400 worth of quarters every game.
The original Mile High, right?
The original Mile High Stadium.
I got the opportunity to see one game there, thankfully.
And I am so grateful because as a grown man, I do not fear work. I want it to be hard because I know everybody else is not going to do it. And there's no way around it, no way over it, no way under it. Only way to it is through it.
We tell our kids all the time, my wife and I, we tell them all the time, in this environment that we're in, this world we're in right now, it takes very little to shine above everybody else. You got to put in that little extra effort, energy, and you stand out so much more by doing that.
I got a perfect story for you too about that. My father he used to always come with such wisdom. And I was so excited being in the clubs, and I was like, man, I'm doing the thing. I'm making money. I'm this, I'm that. And I'm smart too. I'm smarter than everybody. I figure out everything. I am the man. And he said, yeah, of course you're going to be the man in a den of fools. Just, but I remembered that, right? It is not just good enough to be good at where you're at. You have to be prepared for anything that comes your way. So I've just what I've been able to do to help me do all these things and to go so hard and not get emotionally involved because I have control over my emotions. And I don't expect anything, right? Like you don't plant a seed in fertile soil, sit down, cross your legs and say, okay, seed, I need you to grow. Come on, seed, grow. And you're looking at it, it's not growing. This seed don't grow. I quit. How many people we know that have taken a financial course or real estate course think they're going to be rich and it don't go their way? And they're like, well, it wasn't for me. No.
Gyms operate on that whole business model, right? Of people quitting. I'm going to sign up 4,000 people and 4 people are going to show up today. That's it. That's their whole business model.
And they quit. But at the same time, they got the recurring payment.
Right. Crazy, right? Crazy business model.
Yeah. And I play offense. Right? I play offense. I learn how to learn. It's not enough just to learn. You have to learn how to learn. Right? So that's why I'm a part of about 15 organizations. Whenever I need to do so, I needed writers. I went and joined the Editorial Freelancers Association. Found every writer I needed. They were telling us we couldn't do shows because we only had one song. All the booking agents was like, well, this is after the lawsuit, after we prevailed, and that was it was hard because it was like, what do we do now? I was like, I want to go back on the road. And they were like, well, you only got one song, so we can't put you on our web. We don't believe in you. I was like, okay. And I joined the International Entertainment Buyers Association. And then the hierarchy of things, you have the top, which is your buyers. Then you have your venues. Then you have your Live Nations and your, iHeart radios. And then you have the very people who are the mom and pops who were telling me I couldn't do it. Then you got your managers. Then you got me. I cut out the middleman. Me and Chubby Checker, the only black dudes in their convention, 5,000 people. And I'm in there with a big Whoomp There It Is t-shirt on. And people are coming up to me and I'm like, I'm DC Glenn, tag team Whoomp There It Is. I've got a clean 90s nostalgic show. As soon as I said clean, I saw their ears perk up because I learned in rap, they don't want to touch rap because of the insurance and all the other stuff like that, right? But when I said clean, it instantly hit them. And then we've been doing shows ever since, right?
Amazing.
Because I went to the buyer,
right? The
person who actually says, I'm going to put this thing on, go get me the groups. I went to the buyer. Now I've imprinted it on the buyer. He's like, and call tag teams people too. So the next thing, and I just I built those relationships. I go to all the mixers of that organization. Everybody knows me. So now I got other people advocating for me in that organization for all the people who join it. And every year, people from my high school call me and say, what do you want to tell the class of 2022? I say, join an organization. because you'll find out very soon if it's for you or not, right?
Mhm.
And you're not just flailing. So anything I want to learn or want to learn how to do, I join an organization. I'm part of NAT. I'm starting my motivational speaking career because I joined the NSA, National Speakers Association, right? And I've got mentors who are making $2 million a year, and they're like, "You already halfway there.
You have the story, right?
Yeah,
you have the
I got the
story.
story, and you go on the road. You're on tour. You know how to. You perform in front of 15, 20,000 people every weekend." And I'm like, and I'm thinking that I have to turn it into something of this and this. And they're like, all you got to do is play that commercial at the beginning, talk some, and then play Whoomp There It Is, and you're out of there. They're like, we see you at keynote speeches and stuff like that. So the national convention, they're preparing me to get up there and get critiqued in front of the best in the business. All because I joined an organization. That wouldn't have been possible another way. Right. I would have to go through. I mean, I'm working on a TED Talk right now. You see what I'm saying? Like,
I think your story really lends very well to a TED Talk for sure.
And that's why I just don't quit.
You got a lot going on. So let's talk about being a voiceover artist and how that helped move your career forward also, because we work with a lot of authors and have heard about the explosion within audiobooks, right, alone. How do you feel audio is going to transform the industry? Do you feel like it's having that kind of effect on it?
Hey, man, this week on NBC. The hardest thing I ever had to do.
Is that right?
And here's the thing, man. The pandemic was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. We know the other side is the other side. But the pandemic, we're all, as they say, in this together, but everybody had to stop at the same time. So we're all in the Serengeti together. What are you going to be, predator or prey? So, and we all ask ourselves, what are we going to do? Even if you're financially stable, you're like, what am I going to do?
Right.
Because fear is palpable. You know what I'm saying? So can't do shows, can't do this, but I can rock this microphone. And I started voiceover in 2009, and I struggled because I thought I could just whoomp there it is my way through anything, right? And I was wrong. I went through all those tapes and organized them because I record everything I do. And I organized all those tapes and went back to the first lesson with Joan Baker and Rudy Gaskins in New York. They're top in the game. And I'm thinking it's their fault because I can't get it. And to hear that 10 years later, it was heartbreaking because I realized that it was me, right? But then at the same time, because I'm an actor, because I didn't give up on voiceover, all the things they were saying, I understood. Let me do this first script over again. And it was angelic because it was the first time I had mastery over my voice. So now I do all types of voiceover, commercial. My wheelhouse is commercial, promo, animation, and movie trailer, right? And I'll do some narration, but I'm between so many different worlds that my grammatically speaking is a little difficult to keep in context because I had to go to a speech therapist because I had such a regionalism, right? So every single time I was in a bind, voiceover saved me. And now I get 10 auditions a day, right? I can't even get to them. And because I did voiceover, I got signed with the People Store agency in Atlanta, Georgia, 2017, and I booked instantly. And I'm up there, and the CEO walks in, and she's like, "Oh my God, I love your face. Put him on camera." What's that mean? You're an actor now. What I got to do? You got to go to class, and you got to get headshots. Once I went to class, I was in class every day on the weekends for intensives and everything until the pandemic hit. I was booking like crazy, just regional and local stuff, but I booked my first national commercial for Pizza Hut for March Madness in beginning of February 2020. That would have been like $100,000, and the pandemic hit. But I didn't care because I booked. I knew I belonged. And the beauty of that whole story is that I learned that in life, there are no mistakes. There are no missed opportunities. Because in 1994, I'm in the bowels of Disney teaching the voices of Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse how to rap because we did a Mickey record called Whoomp There It Went, right? That really started my voiceover career. And I wasn't even thinking about it back then. And I beat myself up for years. But I do voiceover now because sometimes in life, my Aunt Judy tells me this, said, "Baby, sometimes in life, we're just not ready." And 1995, I'm in the office, the CEO of New Line Cinema, because my manager knew him. And he's like, "Man, I think I want to cast you for this new movie. LL Cool J and Wesley Snipes are fighting for the lead, but I want to cast you. It's a vampire movie called Blade." I beat myself up for years because I was, there it is. I was like, talk to my manager. Go ahead, talk to my manager. Right? And now I'm an actor. 5 movies under my belt, 6 TV shows, constantly booking. I'm a working actor now. Sometimes in life, we're just not ready. And I get to do all these things because people are like, you can't possibly do all this. Or the traditionalists will be say, they see the industry doesn't work that way. You can't do it like this. And I'll be like, you know what? You're right. But, hey, I'm not trying to do everything. I'm trying to prepare for everything.
Right.
Like, oh man, that makes sense. And I just shake my head because I'm like, doing everything is preparing for everything. Preparation is everything. I don't prepare for something that I don't plan on doing. I don't plant a seed if I don't do the preparation because I'm looking for mastery, right? And people used to tell me, DC, you're a jack of all trades, master none. When I was young, my father, everybody. And what they don't realize is that when you don't quit, you become masterful at all those trades. And they come back to serve you in ways you could have never imagined. And you become ambidextrous in life, in business, in entrepreneurship, and anything you want to do. And the sky's the limit. And the biggest thing that I've learned how to do is to kill my pride and sequester my ego, right? Because pride and ego kills people. You know, pride keeps your mind closed because you want to win an argument so bad that you'll go down the rabbit hole of untruth. And then you end up believing it. Now you're truly lost. I let people win. I'm like, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm not about to argue with you.
We just had somebody on our show, former NFL player Marcus Ogden. He was the first, I think, African-American contractor and I think the largest African-American contractor in Maryland. Grew a business from basically 0 to, 7, 8 figures and lost it in 9 months and he blames it to today to ego and now coaches other business owners on how to keep that at bay. And I'll tell you, I think you're a great example of you definitely have that entrepreneurial mindset. Mm-hmm. And I think you're a testament to being an entrepreneur and being able to make your way through the challenges that are put in front of you. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't let those challenges hinder them. They figure out a way to either go up and over or through them in order to get to the other side and hopefully become better, either better people or better businessmen or better husband, wife, or whatever. But they're always looking at those obstacles, not as obstacles.
No.
As opportunities. Absolutely.
I'm not going to argue with you because I love being wrong, right? Because being wrong is the path to being right.
Right.
I can admit it. It kills me inside, of course. Nobody wants to be wrong. I'm like, I was wrong. But now my mind is open to every possibility imaginable because I only think of solutions. I think of the most pie in the sky, far-fetched, fantastical solution to any problem that I have or anything I want to do. And people be like, you can't do all that. I was like, you're right. I can't do all that. It can't be done now, but let me inch my way back. What's it look like now? Still can't do it. Inch your way back a little bit more. Wait a minute. You're kind of halfway doing that now. Inch your way back a little more. Wait a minute. Wait. Oh, if you did this and this and switch this around, inch back a little more, you work your way back to practicality. And what you've just done is you've created a reverse business plan with a stepladder to your goals and dreams. All because you thought of the highest, most possible, fantastical solution and worked your way back.
You are a visionary at its highest level. So based upon that and your vision and being a visionary, what's up next for DC Glenn? What's the next big thing coming down the pike for you that you're working on?
Everything that comes my way.
What's the one thing that you're most excited about that that's coming up?
The ability to be my own ad agency and make my own pitches and send out pitch decks and be able to pitch to the ad agencies because I was on the cover of the biggest ad magazine in the world and I will always be remembered. And my value add is bananas right now. I just have to step up to the level of pitching correctly to the right people because everybody's open. People are waiting for me, right? And I do pitch decks for everything now, right? I'm trying to figure, it's almost like putting out demo tapes, right? That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to do that for every opportunity I get. I do Like I said, I do so many of these podcasts that I've got to go to Comic-Con because of a podcast. I got another financial advisor because of a podcast, right? Because I'm looking for people that these podcasts serve such an incredible purpose because I'm killing 14 birds with one stone. I'm practicing diction. I'm practicing articulation. I'm practicing storytelling for acting. I'm practicing all of these things, testing out analogies, talking to different people. I told people that I was doing this today. They was like, why? It's like, I'm not even about to even answer your question. You got to ask why. I'm not even going to ask. Like, everybody doesn't understand why I'm doing they think it's extra work. I'm like, this ain't extra work. This is what is required. I said,
you have the abundance mindset for sure.
And here's the thing. I'm just as lazy as the next person. I am. But I just do it anyway because you can do two things at one time. You can be lazy and get stuff done, right?
Yeah.
And the perfect example for that is, how many of you, if you work out or you can run, whatever, there are days you don't want to do it. And when you do it, the only thing you say to yourself after you're finished, man, I'm glad I went to the gym today.
Right.
That's
Always.
That's
You just got to push through.
You got to push through.
So listen, this is the Midland Money Mindset, and we ask each of our guests the same last question. So I'm going to do the same for you, DC, and that is, what did you do today that brought you joy and put you in the right mindset for success?
I got up and I started coding JSON LD, which is schema markup for the website. And I'm trying to get masterful at it. Most people do maybe 10 lines of code. I do 2,000 because I know how Google works. Google is a robot. Google is not a person. Google is not in its feelings. Google doesn't know if they like you or not. Google is a robot. And the company gives you the recipe how to feed the robot. So what are you going to be? A short order cook or a 5-star Michelin chef? I choose the latter. So now everybody's worried about social media and doing all kind of stupid stuff on TikTok and all that. And that's beautiful for them. I'm not about to do that. My thing is I'm learning how to get in front of the people who want my services. And I tell people all the time, man, you got to do social media. I was like, I do a little, but let me tell you something, young man. I don't need 100,000 people to like me. I just need 100 people to pay me.
Right. There you go. And that's a great point. And this is, you've wove in the financial aspect and the joy aspect there. So I appreciate that. Yeah. So DC, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and we're going to have all of your information in the show notes.
Yes, sir.
But if people want to contact you, learn more about you, where is the easiest and best place for them to go and do that?
Okay, so here's an SEO tip for you. Always make your handles the same. So if you want to find DC Glenn, you're going to find DC Glenn ATL. If you want to find Tag Team, all the handles are Tag Team Whoomp. You keep it symmetrical across every platform. Then Google finds you. Then anytime you type in, you don't even have to be, it could just be DC. I'm going to come up, and then you're going to see everything on the first in the results, because I'm, my analogy. You did it. Yeah, my analogy is, I'm in a car crash and I break my leg. Hey, call an ambulance. Wait a minute. There's an ambulance right there. We good. Yeah. That's what I try to be to people.
There you go. I think that sums it up perfectly. DC, it's been a pleasure having you on today.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
Sprinkles. I had to get that off my chest.
I appreciate that. Listen, it's a fan favorite in my household. We love the commercial. We love you. My kids can now relate to what we knew from when you guys originally came out with the song. Yes. Now our kids can relate, so it's becoming a generational thing, and I thank you for that. And it's one of our favorite commercials of all time. So we wish you much success, and we will be watching for more coming from DC Glenn and hopefully Tag Team as well.
Thank you.
And make it a great day.
You too. Take care.
I want to thank DC Glenn for being a guest on the Midland Money Mindset. DC Glenn and his musical partner are known for one of the most memorable songs ever in hip-hop history. That song is now the focus of one of the most memorable commercials of all time. DC Glenn's career is one that has had its ups and downs, and he now works with others in his industry and outside of it to mentor them and help them be successful in their endeavors, and he's really focused on giving back. DC Glenn and Tag Team Back Again can be found across all social media platforms, and all the contact information needed to find them can be found in the show notes. Thank you for joining us this week on the Midland Money Mindset. Make sure you visit our website at midlandmoneymindset.com and smash the subscribe button so you don't miss a show. We encourage you to help others find our valuable content, and please don't keep us a secret. You can also schedule an Is There a Fit call right from our website or by using the link that you'll find in the description section of your podcast player or app. And be sure to join us for our next episode to learn more about getting your mind right when it comes to all things money.
The opinions voiced in the Midland Money Mindset Show with Lawrence Sprung are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. No strategy ensures success or protects against loss. To determine what may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Guests on the Midland Money Mindset Show are not affiliated with CWM LLC.